Now, let's go on to the next concept, which is your MEV, an acronym that stands for Minimum Effective Volume. This is the minimum amount of total work or volume in reps, sets, and weight that you need to do for your workout to be at all effective and give you any sort of hypertrophy gains at all. So, for someone who has never worked out before and is a pure beginner, the MEV would be super low. Right? It would be like one set per muscle of about 10 reps at a very low weight per week. Okay, since they've never worked out before, that's all it will take to cause hypertrophy. However, for someone who has been working out a while but is still a beginner in that they've been working out for just 1 to 3 years, they'll need to do about 5 sets per muscle per week at whatever rep range of their choosing and whatever weight they're comfortable with for that rep range. Now, for intermediate lifters who have been working out for between 3 and 7 years, this increases to about 10 sets per muscle per week, and increases the longer you have been working out and the more advanced you get, since, the difference between 3 and 7 years is kind of a lot, all right? So there is certainly more that could be happening at the end of that, and less at the beginning. Now, for advanced lifters who have been working out for 7 or more years, it would be at least 15 sets per muscle per week, and even more for more advanced people who've been training for over a decade. Okay, now, your minimum effective volume is not to be confused with maintenance volume, which is lower than it. And that's the volume at which you won't grow, but just won't lose any of your muscle mass and just, maintain that state in like a deliberate plateau. The minimum effective volume is the amount of stimulus required for a minimal amount of growth. All right, so that is the volume at which you begin causing hypertrophy adaptations and growing muscle. And it's probably a lot less than you think that you need, and most people are doing more work than they need to, even too much in many cases. A lot of people who are struggling and think that they're hard gainers are struggling to make gains because of the fact that they are actually training too much for where they're at. Like, for instance, beginners who have been training for just a year or two but are doing the type of volume that someone who's been training for 5 or 10 years should be doing. All right, this is very common. I constantly hear people talking at the gym about struggling to make certain muscles grow and doing more and more and more for it, when oftentimes that is not what that muscle needs, especially the smaller muscles. It's something you need to know about these volume landmarks is that they're going to be on the higher side for larger muscles and on the lower side for smaller muscles. All right, so they don't just differ from individual to individual based on how long they've been training, but they're going to differ per exercise based on what muscles you're training and how big they are. All right, so you do not want to be overestimating your minimum effective volume, especially for smaller muscles like the biceps, which everyone loves to train and wants to grow, but are confused about how much volume it takes because the bicep is a very small muscle. All right, so most people are overtraining their biceps by a lot. And later on in this part of the program, I'm going to be teaching you exactly what the volume landmarks are for each and every single individual muscle. So you can look forward to that. But today, I'm just going to be telling you about the volume landmarks and what they are. All right, so your MEV is where the growth really starts to happen, and thus where this growth curve that I'm going to go over soon starts. Okay, and so you should start every block of progressive overload with your MEV or just below it. You want to be about at it and not over it. All right, and it's better to undershoot than overshoot so that you have more to do in the upcoming weeks before maxing out. And then building upon your MEV and doing progressive overload is what causes hypertrophy adaptations and muscular growth, which may and will probably be very good at first. But as you continue to add volume, the returns that you get from training harder and harder will be diminishing until you reach your maximum adaptive volume, or MAV. So remember that there is a law of diminishing returns, and you cannot just add volume and work infinitely and expect to get the same rate of growth as when you first started adding sets.